Thank you. So I guess one of the important things in our business, we all know, it's data, it's analytics, it's the funny algorithms we are using, and maybe more data. And we have funny people in all the offices that are number crunching everything. The hard thing actually is to get this to the right people with the right message. You know, all here, if we're sitting here, we have 7 minutes to bring the message over. And it's a lot of things about visualization. So it's great to have Matt here. He is the Chief Analytics and Operating Officer at Domo, right? Since 2014, since more than 3 years there. And has a lot of experience actually coming from Adobe and Omniture with what are we doing with the data and how can we actually display the data. So, stage is yours.
Fantastic, thank you. Thanks for the introduction. It's so nice to be here surrounded by all you beautiful data nerds. It's been fantastic being here the last couple of days and hearing all of the tremendous insights and data. It's like being surrounded by a big warm data blanket. So I think one of the challenges that we have, thank you for the courtesy smile. I think one of the challenges that we have as data practitioners is how do we move from data and insight to action and execution, right? I think this is one of the most significant challenges and one of the most significant opportunities that we all have as practitioners. And I believe that visualization is one of the most critical common currencies that we can establish to help us do that. So let me show you what I mean. Oh, do we have all right. So let's jump real quick into an organization. So this is 200 people, it could be 2,000, it could be 20,000, 200,000, it's all the same ratio. So what's fascinating is you have this distribution of functional areas, sales, marketing, everything that you know, operations. But then we have these teams that derive, many of whom are in the room today, that derive this insight, right? Now what's striking about this to me is the ratio. You have roughly 3 to 5% of your organization that's dedicated to strategic data and insight, and 95% of your organization that's there to consume it. Now, what's fascinating about this is that if you follow the path of business execution, it happens up there. That's the paradox. That's the world that we live in. It happens up there. It doesn't happen down here. As much as we will it to happen, that's where the real lever point is. So getting the data and insight from this bottom part of the organization, from this strategic analysis up to the top, is again what I think is one of the most significant opportunities that we all have as practitioners. And that's the bridge that I think visualization can provide. To illustrate that, I'm going to actually walk you through an example very quickly using Univision. Univision, for those of you who don't know, is the largest Hispanic media company in the world. It is not only the largest, but is also top 5 network in the Americas, and they have roughly $3 billion in revenue, $2 billion of which comes directly from advertising. Not surprisingly, as we've heard some folks already talk about at this conference, the media world has been just really ravaged and disrupted by a combination of shifting medium, increasing complexity, and also shifting behaviors and consumption patterns amongst younger viewers. And as a result of that, Univision, you can see this up in the top left, has had a dramatic decline, 45% decline in TV viewership. So to offset that decline, they've done a massive investment in many new channels, all of which you're familiar with, everything from mobile, social, to apps. The challenge has been that the people that are executing on those don't necessarily have the insight that they need to optimize those. So let's take a look at what happens when they typically try to optimize it. This is what they ran into around mid-2016 when we started working together. So first, they tried to centralize all their data, right? Does this sound familiar? I think we've all probably tried to do this at one point. The problem was that it was never finished, it wasn't driven by the business outcome, and the business users, the people that were trying to execute, didn't trust the data because they didn't understand it. Secondly, each report took about 7 days. It would come out every Wednesday, but the business questions were constantly changing, as I think a lot of us can relate to. So there was no single version of the truth, and as a result of that, the business users were frustrated by the reports. Lastly, in this just long time window that they had to take action, They had zero speed to insight. They ended up mispricing their inventory. They had no competitive advantage. It was a competitive disadvantage, and the business users disengaged. That's exactly what happened, despite all of the brilliant insights that they have from data. That's exactly what happened in their organization. They were paralyzed. They weren't able to take action. So, it looks like this is the old deck, but that's fine. So we'll just keep going. So let me address how they solved that. So one of the first things that we did was work together to create a view of the data. So this view summarizes all of the relevant data sources that they work on at a business user level. In turn, the green bars show you the health of that data. So if you have a business question, you can dive into this and say, hey, are we getting fresh data? Is that data credible? In turn, we focused on 3 to 5 heartbeat metrics. This is really, really key. For an organization that spans thousands, if not tens of thousands of users, we had to drive this forcing function. So we focused very clearly on just a few things that would move the needle and standardize that single version of the truth. In turn, we created what is a very consumable and intuitive visualization that helps business users answer the questions that they have every day. And this is an example of what we've created for them. Lastly, we put it in a form factor that ties to the workflow and the lifestyle that they have. And the net result of all of this was several successful benefits. So first of all, by doing this type of visualization, they realized that their mobile ad inventory was completely undervalued. Secondly, they realized that their international inventory was completely undervalued. So what did they do? They actually shifted from a lot of programmatic work to direct sales work for both of those areas. As a result of that, and I do apologize, this slide is slightly outdated, but the net of it is that they actually had a resurgence of growth in this last quarter. So in less than 9 months, they've been able to transform their culture. They've been able to empower the decision makers such that they had double-digit growth in all of their digital areas, which is just fantastic. It's a fantastic evolution, and that speed to value, that speed to insight is something that I think all of us, it's an opportunity that I think all of us share, and quite honestly, I think it's a responsibility that we have, because this type of change usually starts in a room like this, right? It starts from leadership, from folks like yourselves. And lastly, what they were able to do, again, is turn everybody in the organization into some form of data-driven culture. And that was how we drove success with visualization. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. So I guess it's great to see actually on this chart how quickly the phones are going up to maybe take this visualization to get a flavor about the entire challenge we have, to bring the insights to the audience and to the right people. So maybe I'm opening the question round now to the floor. Are there questions here in the audience? Not yet? Okay, then I will start. Could you explain, actually, on the clients you have, are there any savings what they are having? Because normally you're doing the presentations there, and,
Sure.
and I know in my team it takes maybe weeks before you're getting the stuff in the right way together.
Yeah.
So is it something what you're actually seeing there, that they're making faster decisions?
Yeah, it's a great question. We actually see the benefits of this type of cultural change on both sides. So we see certainly one of the obvious areas is speed to insight, reduced cost of reporting. So one of the original drivers for many of the conversations that we have with individuals is around how can we do this faster? How can we do this in a more automated way? How can we provide this self-service? And that self-service component is, again, very critical. But what's interesting is that quickly changes as you standardize, as you follow this path that I just described, as you standardize on those heartbeat metrics, and the actual business leaders, once they start to embrace that and they run their business using a platform like this, then you start to see revenue generation. And that's where it gets really exciting. And every example that I gave you in the case of Univision, it's all revenue generation. It's all net new.
Okay, and actually you said self-service, so you made the chart up where you're taking all the data silos in there. Is this something where you have applications, actually APIs, or something in place that you actually can upload all the data you have in an easy way?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, absolutely. So that's for those of you who don't know Domo and are just getting a flavor for it. We work with over 400 different data sources that we have built out connections for. And so that's principally how we get data into the platform. And then beyond that, we connect to thousands of other data sources that may be more internal data warehouses and things like that. Yep.
Okay. So last chance for you. Do you have a question there?
Tell us a little bit, I don't know if this is on, about Domo's process and the time to market. Like, how long does it take for from the engagement to start to live data?
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question, one that we get quite often. So what I like to do, the best practice, is to start with a very concrete business question and work from the outcome that you're trying to achieve. And if you start there, something as simple as, we're trying to understand how to better optimize our mobile ad inventory, you can have data within the platform within minutes because of all the APIs that we've already built out. You have the ability to build the cards. It's an entirely cloud-based solution. We do have on-prem as well for those who have very sensitive data considerations, but generally everything is cloud-based. So your ability to very quickly move from data ingestion to insight, it's usually only a matter of minutes, to be frank.
Thanks, Matt.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it.